In today's Q&A, how do I optimize my fasting for better metabolic health and even more weight loss? More weight loss from the same amount of food, that's what I call intermittent fasting 2.0. In modern science, there are at least three main components to intermittent fasting: calories, autophagy, and what's called circadian hormonal rhythms, how your body reacts to the food depending on when you eat it. So if you're already fasting a bit here and there, but you want to pull more benefits from the same effort, like losing 11 pounds instead of 10, 11, you are in the right place. Weight loss is hard already, so let's not waste the extras. I personally only recently started to pay close attention to that third point, hormones, and oh boy, it made such a difference, which I can both feel, my backpack can feel it too, and measure, because I measure everything. So let's talk about what I did and how you can avoid my past mistakes. First, let's get the terminology right, because that's why a lot of people get frustrated when their results don't match their expectations. When you read incredible headlines about intermittent fasting, like studies in New England Journal of Medicine showing that IF improves glucose regulation, blood pressure, and heart rate, completely independent of weight loss, it sounds almost like magic. But the catch is, in the medical literature, intermittent fasting usually means drastic calorie reduction for multiple days. That's why it's fasting. The initial study by Mark Madsen, which have started all this craze, they were 5-2 fasting protocols. 5 days of normal eating, 2 days with restricted calories. But in our pop and blog culture, intermittent fasting has spread to everything, including protocols like eating only for 12 hours a day, or 8 hours a day, or just once a day. But you see, scientists do not call all that intermittent fasting. The official name is time-restricted eating, TRE, because you restrict the time when you eat. And it's important because all those magic benefits do not apply if you just skip breakfast. For them, you need to fast for a few days at least. The good news, I have a special no-hunger fasting system well described on this channel, and you can check it later. But just so you know, it works beautifully together with time-restricted eating, especially version 2.0, which we are talking about here, so let's nail it first. And alright, let's call it intermittent fasting for the rest of this video, because that's what we are all used to. But keeping in mind that it's really the restricted eating we are talking about in this chapter. Okay? Let's roll. All by itself, intermittent fasting is not magical. Most of the benefits come from the reduction of the total calories. As you probably saw in my previous video, time restriction just happens to work better for most people, including myself, who cannot count calories to save their lives. Some can, just not me. So IF is just one tool in our weight loss toolbox, to which we are going to add a few more tools. But to just repeat, because, well, internet and all the influencers, a 1-year-long randomized clinical study where intermittent fasting was calorie matched to just eating whenever produced no significant difference between the two approaches as far as weight loss or blood pressure or other health markers. But if we look at the details, the intermittent fasting group was at least pointing to better at fat loss and minor improvements in insulin sensitivity, which are nice cookie points, because that's exactly what this channel is about. Metabolic health and fat loss. Not weight loss, fat loss. The practical outtakes. Number one, you now know why the Twinkie diet works. If you just eat Twinkies. If you are in the deficit, insulin doesn't matter all that much for fat loss, despite what some people say. Number two, so many people go crazy about breaking the fast with few stray calories. Now we know that you can relax a bit. Just stay in the deficit and remember that perfect is the enemy of the good. And good means sustainable. Now, the next big thing is autophagy. Oh, before that, special warning about 1 meal a day. If you do that, it might be awesome for fat loss, at least in the short term, but can also lead to mineral, vitamin and protein deficiencies. So if you are doing it for more than a month, pay extra attention to your macros and micros. So, autophagy, the famous internal cleanup, self-eating. Recently, it has become an overused buzzword without too much data to support most of the claims. On one hand, autophagy is extremely complicated topic with multiple types identified, working differently in different organs, with absolutely no easy way for you or me to measure any of that at home or in the lab. But on the other hand, it's very simple. Autophagy is controlled by energy, which comes in waves and cycles. Almost like a heater. When the temperature falls down, it kicks up. Energy is down, autophagy is up. But keep in mind, there are a lot of people out there who never fasted or exercised in their life, and they're still alive and doing well. Which means that autophagy is doing its job pretty well without any kind of fasting. Otherwise, all cells, especially metabolically active ones, like in your brain, for example, would just gunk up very quickly and start to die off, which was tested by the real genetic autophagy switch in animals. So, if you are alive, autophagy is working. Practical outtakes. If you are worried about stopping autophagy, we can also breathe out. Autophagy is always running on low, like a pilot light in a heater, and naturally gets higher in different organs when energy dips are detected. But if you work a desk job, like I do, your life might be just too comfortable for your cells, so you have to manufacture energy dips to help it. And fasting is one of the ways to do it. It is great, but there are other tools out there which we should definitely use as well. Second best way to boost autophagy is to create those energy dips is exercise, especially in the fasted state. Then you kind of stack energy dips one on top of each other. Another tool or tools also for cleanup of our system are short-term stressors. Something we don't see in our climate control habitats. And that's heat exposure, like sauna, and the opposite, the cold. Cold weather, cold showers.
We don't have earthquakes, we don't have hurricanes, we don't have alligators. We don't have earthquakes, we don't have hurricanes, we don't have alligators.
And the most unusual way in the context of fasting is eating, but strategically. Fasting is great and all, but when you eat, if you eat polyphenol-rich foods, which are poison to bugs, those polyphenols, that's how plants protect themselves. Polyphenols act as tiny stressors. And what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Beginners focus on what to remove from their diet, but my 20 years of experience tells me that you should focus on what to add. Green tea, coffee, berries, broccoli, nuts and seeds, olive oil. With the latter, look for high polyphenol brands. They have that peppery, slightly burning taste. Next strategic way to use food, which is gaining popularity thanks to the new studies, is following those circadian rhythms. Because what the science shows, that you are more insulin sensitive in the morning just thanks to the sun. And so eating a solid breakfast produces slightly more energy, which goes into better productivity during the day and slightly more movement, and as a result, burning of more calories. But it's just a start. If you are skipping breakfast to do your fast, and then sitting at desk all day, and then eating a massive dinner at 8 p.m., you are forcing your digestive system to work a night shift. Here's what a week of me skipping breakfasts on one side and skipping dinners on other looks like. What you see is super important, because better sleep is shown to protect muscles and selectively burn more fat. If you look at the clinical data, it's up and above 100% more fat. After I saw the study, I completely transformed my sleep routine. Let me know if you want the story about that. So to recap, for now, breakfast is very important. So breakfast like a king, dine like a pauper. Worry less about breaking autophagy, but more about eating colorful fruits and vegetables. Walking after a meal or walking fasted or both, even better. And treat sleep as sacred. Your insulin and weight will be quite happy. But if you want them to go from happy to ecstatic, if you want to do a mental reset and start practicing mindful eating, you need to explore the real fasting and how to do it without too much stress or even hunger. So let's fast forward right there. Cheers. Woo!